Are we live? Hey, I think we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Interact. That's the live show hosted by me, Chris, in which we talk about a bunch of comics from the past week. Oh, that music's fun. All right, well, let's fade that out. That's fun and all, but we'll end that. And let's take a look at who's in the chat room, and then I'll go over what we're going to talk about today. But folks, if you're just jumping in, there's a lot of big comics news that should be a lot of fun to talk about, riff on, stuff like that. There's also some interesting comics that came in this week. It's going to be a good show. And then I'm going to be drawing something too. But let's take a look at who's here. We've got okay, that's fair. Look, oh boy, look at that. Yep, Andrew Jefferson says only a single salute. Good point. No, you guys are worth it. You get the double salute. Boom. Nice to see you all. We've got people like Esoteric Chinese Food and Rosstown. Hello to Iron Shell. Hello, J Muse. Hello, Super Laugh Hard. We've also got TJ Rip. We've got Daryl Grant. Looks like Liefeld took the one-chip challenge. There you go. Hey, Chris, glad you're alive. Yes, last week ended dramatically with me doing the one-chip challenge, and yikes, did that hurt. Yikes. Let's see. Rob looks like Chris from last week. There you go. Hello, Big Gay Dave, Jamil Frost, all sorts of people. Oh, look at this. Jim, look who's back from Europe. Look who's back. Jim was on, it seemed like a pretty nice tour of Northern Europe, going to some conventions and stuff like that. Hello. Great job on that Usagi vid. Stan Sakai rules. He does rule. Yes, the latest episode of my weekly edited show, which is Comic Tropes, different channel, is about Stan Sakai and Usagi Yojimbo. And you know what's nice? Today, Stan Sakai himself said that he really liked the video. So, you know, when I make something like that, I don't necessarily, well, I don't allow myself to think about the creators that I'm talking about, because, you know, that could really interfere with your opinions, you general, like me specifically. I have to be honest with you guys. That's the only thing I can really offer is my opinions. So I just put that out of my head. But it is nice afterwards if somebody that I'm talking about likes what I've had to say. That's a nice feeling. But I can't just go around just complimenting people. Anyway, Andrew Jefferson asks an interesting question that I will give you guys some insight into. How long did the one-chip challenge hurt for? About, after I ended the stream, about 30 minutes of pain, 30 consistent minutes of just my mouth and my throat just absolutely boiling. And it was painful. And the thing that seemed to help me most was just trying to cool it down. I literally stood over the sink with the cold water turned on, and I'd fill up my mouth, rinse it around, and spit it out. And that I just kept doing that again and again and again. I don't think I have anything bad to say about Rob Liefeld myself today, myopic, so I don't think he's going to be upset with anything. Let's see. Oh, this is good. The final screen of that stream was awe-inspiring. It hurt. So about 30 minutes of pain, like really intense pain in my mouth from the heat of that chip. And then about 18 hours of stomach pain. I did not sleep well that night. I went to work in the morning and I had a stomach ache. It hurt for a while. Yeah, I am still alive. Thank you. Let's see. Warrior rabbits and soldier turtles are friends. Eventually. Yep. Hello, Keith. And yeah, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. Anyway, so I'm going to review real quick, some comics that came in this week. Tell you what, let me add this to the stream, and I think I can make this bigger, right? Isn't there a way to? Okay, I'm doing that. I thought that there was a way to do it. All right, maybe not. I'm still getting used to this new software, folks. I appreciate it. Oh, by the way, Does this sound better this week compared to last? Because I did mess around with some audio settings for quite a while this afternoon to try to make sure that the audio sounds like my stream normally sounds. I know last week people said it was a little tinny. Okay, I appreciate that feedback. Great sound this week. Okay, so it is better. Sound is good. It does sound better. Sound much better. Okay, sound good. Good. Thank you all. Thank you. Okay, good. Figured it out. I'm not much of a technical genius, but let's go. Here's what I'll do. Okay, it won't let me take myself off without also pulling off the audio. That's annoying, but I'll figure around it. I'll figure that out. Hold on, someone's blowing up my phone. Okay. Work stuff outside of this. Here's Marvel's big event, Judgment Day, right? Issue 5 already of Avengers, X-Men, Eternals. Here's the thing. I don't feel like I'm getting to know most of these characters very well. This one's focused a little bit more on Captain America. They're being judged by a celestial, a space god. So a bunch of X-Men, a bunch of Avengers, and a bunch of Eternals are supposedly trying to save Earth from getting destroyed by a space god. That's a cool enough idea. The fight itself is only like about these 2 or 3 pages. You know, the Celestial just sort of makes mincemeat out of the godlike level heroes. You know, we're talking Phoenix, Exodus, Captain Marvel, Icarus, Namor, Thor. They're all just melted. So this guy's powerful. Got it. They kill Captain America. And at the end, the X-Men decide to do something different. The X-Men can now resurrect themselves with a combination of 5 different mutants' powers. Well, they decide to sort of break their rules a little, and they bring Captain America back. So whatever, you know, the stakes are a little lowered. I would say it feels like the stakes are lowered when people can come back to life. What happened to the X-Men and Eternals fighting? That went nowhere. Yeah, exactly. Because it was never all of the Eternals against all of the X-Men. It was like 2 or 3 of the Eternals, basically guys that are loyal to Druig, who's always sort of been a jerk. So it's not really like them all versus each other. I don't know. I want to like it. Dialogue is good. Art is great. Story, the stakes don't work for me. Here's the next issue of BRZRKR. I like this book early on, but it's sort of starting to lose me, if I'm honest. You know, at first, Keanu Reeves played this sort of immortal berserker that worked for the government on Black Ops missions. He can't die, and he remembers his history. He's working with these weirdo scientists that we still don't 100% know what they're trying to get out of him, but I guess they're close to getting whatever it is. I assume his immortality or something like that, unlocking that. They found the place where he was originally born, and he's going back to it. And, you know, he starts to remember what his life was like back then. And some weird stuff happens. I don't know. This book sort of lost me somewhere along the way. Not completely, because I am still picking it up. I like all of these creators. Matt Kint is a great writer. Keanu Reeves, he's cool. Ron Garney is a rock solid artist. You know, he's not a jobber. He's a good artist. Yeah, you know what? That's a nice comment here by Shin Matthias. That cover is cool. All of their covers have been cool, whether it's a variant or just the regular cover by, you know, Ron Garney. I mean, this is definitely getting plenty of attention because, hey, Keanu Reeves is helping to write it. And, you know, the main character just flat out is Keanu Reeves. And, you know, when they do a live action adaptation, cool, we'll get that. I don't know if I 100% agree with this. Not coming down on you, MK. You know, it says Ron Garney shouldn't ink himself. I don't think that these inks are bad. I really don't. It's a little bit more of a thick line than some of his inkers have done on, like, say, some of the Marvel projects that I've seen. But I don't think it's bad. You know, it is what it is. It's just sort of, I need to be I need to be like just told out. Maybe I'm a dummy. Maybe other people out there are getting this better than me. I need to be told what these scientists are kind of going for. I need to understand some sort of relatable goals or desires or wants. You know, just really break it down for me on some sort of basic level. You know, these scientists, you know, it can be a mystery for a while, but, you know, we're at issue 10, and I'd really love some clarity there as to exactly what they want. Hey, it's my sister. Hi, Jean. Always lovely to have you here. It sincerely is. Wish we could see each other more. Really means a lot to me that you take some time out of your day to see your dumb brother's show. You know, Black Phoenix says this is just a pitch for a movie. Look, is Berserker designed to, you know, sort of put the IP out there? Yes, but if it was, I really think that if all these people making this wanted it to be just a pitch for a movie, they would have done it as like a single issue or a 4-issue series. Just get the concept out there. No, I do get the sense that these people are passionate about this idea. I'm just saying that I'm a dummy. I'm not getting what the bad guys sort of want. Anyway. I don't quite get this. Are those dogs all Jeans? She has one dog, so I'm not quite sure what that means. Sorry. Look at this. I've still got like extra gloves from the one chip challenge last week. I'll get that out of the way. World's Finest. I think I'm finally starting to understand. I thought that this Mark Waid book was set out of continuity. Okay? Because it was just a feature with Batman, Superman, and Robin. And Robin was Dick Grayson. Okay, well, he's not in the regular continuity. He's Nightwing. So I was like, okay, so I guess this is just its own story, right? And then, like last week, we looked at a book. There's an ad for it back here, so I'm just going to that. Where's the ad? By the way, look, Mark Silvestri is going to do a Batman book. I'm always down with some Mark Silvestri, you know, Marvel or DC stuff. Where is that ad? I thought it was towards the end here. Well, anyway, this starts to clarify some things for me. The book I'm talking about that came out last week is Batman versus Robin, and it features a villain from this. So all of a sudden I'm going, well, okay, well, if that villain is there, then this isn't its own continuity. But it doesn't jibe with me having like Batman versus Robin has, you know, Damian Wayne, like a very modern Robin. This one has the original Robin, Dick Grayson. Okay, this is set in the past. This is explicitly set in the past because at the end, Robin introduces a new character to this. And it's the Teen Titans, and it's specifically the original lineup. So I think that this story is just sort of vaguely set in the past. And that's fine, now that I get that. It also means that it isn't bogged down with any weird continuity. In this one, somebody from a multiverse, a version of Gotham City is like on a planet that's about to be destroyed. These first few pages, a redo of the Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely all-star Superman. Yeah, this is a version of a kid from like it's sort of a Batman and Superman. Anyway, he's sent from his doomed planet, but instead of like a planet, it's really like a multiverse. And he's sent to, he arrives in ours. There's the Batman and Robin ad. It's towards the beginning. Anyway, and Batman and Superman help the kid because, of course, they can both relate. Art is incredible. I'll answer that question in a second. And thanks for the super chat, Joe Dent. That's really nice. Who's the artist on this one? I just wanted to find the title page. Yeah. Dan Mora. Which, yep, they made a mistake. Look at that. I just realized this. On the cover here, I don't know how close I can get that, but that says Wade Moore and Bon Villain, the colorist. But it says Wade and Moore. Maybe you can see it if I've got it that close. Wade and Moore. But no, the artist is Dan Mora. Mora. Moore. Mora. More. Not quite the same, DC. That would kind of suck, wouldn't it, to get your name wrong on a book? That stinks. Oh, well. to answer your question, Joe, the chip was 100,000 times worse than bad tasting gum. The gum just tasted bad. The chip tasted bad and hurt, and you're paying $9 for that pain. So, not fun. Glad to see you survived the one chip challenge. Dr. Shubil, also very, very much appreciate the super chat. Means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I did survive. So whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger, right? Yeah. Hey, Daniel Carhoonan here, comic writer. DC editor was sleeping on that Mora versus More. What more can you say? And let's say, Gene says, no more chips. No kidding. I knew it would hurt. I didn't think it would hurt that much. I just didn't. I thought that I could do it for some reason. And yeah, no. All right. We've got a new creator-owned book here through Image. Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman teaming up. They were the team that gave us, I would say, a very, very good Venom run. And this feels a little 90s. It really does. And that's because Ryan Stegman, he kind of draws like something similar to what we saw, say, Greg Capullo drawing Spawn in the 90s, that kind of thing. This starts and it seems like, oh, okay, a superhero comic of some sort, right? All right, fair enough. And then we've got this sort of down and out guy that like reveals a weird brand of a raven on his chest. And then all of a sudden we go into a flashback. And what's important here, this is a world of magic. And essentially, that older guy was somebody that was prophesied to be almost like a Harry Potter or something like that. Okay, cool. It goes in a very different direction. Thank you for the donation, TJ. Always appreciate it. And so this kid goes up against, their version of Voldemort, and he takes him out. Where is it? Okay, so the villain here is like this sort of gray guy with glowing purple eyes and spider legs coming out of his back. He's like, there is no magic in this world that can hurt me. And I won't read what he says, but the kid pulls out a gun and just shoots the guy. He just, to get around it, he doesn't use magic. From there, he grew up, but here's the thing. Okay, so he grew up now in the real world, married another magician and everything. But the guy's followers, that sort of Voldemort guy, was called Hollow. All of his modern day followers still exist, and they are portraying themselves as superheroes. They've got a glamour. Okay, this guy puts on his old gear. He's going to take them out. So it's a world of magic, but they're all pretending to be sort of superheroes. All I can say is the main character is messed up in a way that Donny Cates can write well. He's got a lot of addiction issues with various drugs, but they're all like, prescription drugs that he's trying to just sort of stay on the level. It's not like, I'm not saying he's going out onto the streets and doing cocaine, but he definitely is addicted to a lot of drugs. He's not all there. But yeah, he's like, this sort of like grungy Harry Potter guy that's going to go out and like take out these remaining villains that are trying to portray themselves as superheroes. So imagine a magic infused version of Thunderbolts that's more like, through the filter of somebody like, I don't know, not Grant Morrison, but maybe one of those British writers that's just sort of like made it, dark and edgy and stuff like that. Let's say Indiana Jones. What? No. Oh, that's what I wanted to click this. Vanish is a great book. It's cool. Who was the villains whose powers were fueled by coke binges? That would be Snowflame. Snowflame. Yes. A DC super villain that was powered by cocaine. Yeah, Garth Ennis. It's almost like it goes through a Garth Ennis filter. But it's cool, guys. I'm going to read the next issue. Cool new creator-owned book. I do recommend Vanish. Yeah, I could see Warren Ellis working too. This one I wasn't super high on. I think I'm going to stop picking up this little anthology of Edge of Spider-Verse because it's hit and miss, which a lot of anthologies are. It's like each of them has like 4 stories, and you'll like some of the Spider-Mans of other universes, and some of them aren't as good. I liked some of these, actually. I did like some of these more than issues 1 through 3. We've got Pete Spiderman, no hyphen. He is like a real estate guy in the suburbs. Pete Spiderman. That's cool. He helps get Peter Porker, the spectacular Spider-Ham's sense of humor back. Oh, are there only 5 issues? Let's see. So Andrew Jefferson says that there's 5 issues, and I'm like, oh, I'll give up on 4 out of 5. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I don't love it. That's dark. Has anybody ever used school shootings in a comic? You would think it would be a gripping story to use. You know what, though, Joe? I think that here in America, like, we're really putting our head in like the sand on that one. We really don't love talking about how bad it is. And yeah, I feel like like you're right that's like some great material to potentially mine. I've seen some movies address it, but TV and comics just do not want to touch that. This one's great. It's like a Disney animated movie with singing and a princess and like, you know, an evil squid and an evil stepmother. That's actually also pretty clever, I have to admit. Maybe this issue was better than others. I'm thinking of the first few issues that I didn't love as much. There's also a guy that lives in a world of cars. He's Peter Parked Car, and he works for J. Jonah Jalopy. And he's got his Aunt T, okay? And he turns into the spectacular Spider-Mobile. Yeah, Pete Spider-Man looks like you, Chris. Steve, you're not wrong. You know, he doesn't have glasses, but he's got obviously a mask that's almost like goggles. He needs his beard and stuff. Also, I still need to lose weight, but I think that this guy's a little pudgier than me. I think I'm doing good. I think I'm starting to lose some weight. So thank you for the super chat, though. Let's see. Kevin Smith's issue 1 of Hit Girl also touched on the subject. Oh, did he? Okay. So these are some pretty funny puns. And then there's one with Sun Spider. Now, she's a character that has something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which means most of the time she needs to be in a wheelchair. With her spider powers, she's capable of moving her legs, but it's very painful and they're kind of weak, her legs specifically. It's an interesting idea for something like that. It might be a little on the nose in terms of like constantly sort of explaining to us what the disease is like and how she doesn't want to be treated differently and stuff. It hits us a lot with that. It's a bit much, but it's not a bad idea for a character. It's a cool visual, I think, you know, with these like sort of walking crutches that she's designed to shoot spider webs. I kind of like that. Mandalorian, how much you like this will depend on how much you like the show. I liked it a lot. Each issue is just adapting the original episodes. But the artwork by George Genti is good, and it moves at a fast pace. And for me, it's fun to go back and reminisce about Mandalorian. I like Mandalorian a lot. There's my wedding ring. Can you see that well? That's the Mando. I like it quite a bit. Some people are mad about Sun Spider being gay and disabled. Eye rolling emoji. Look, you know what? We're like 40 Spider-Man variants deep, and you're going to get mad that like one of them has some of those things. It's not like they did that for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th Spider-Man iteration. You know, we've had so many Spider-Girls. We've had so many Spider-Man 2099s, Miles Morales, Spider-Ham. We got so many versions before we got to one that like had those two ideas. I think she's kind of cool. It's just the writing is like hitting us a little too much with it because we can visually see what's going on with her. So we don't necessarily need to think. I doubt she would be thinking about her condition all the time since it's her. I know it's a short story and they probably want to get that. Let's see. Somebody explains this better. Nono says, Ehlers-Danlos is a syndrome where connective tissue doesn't grow correctly. There are several causes and various degrees of disability. So they found a very specific disease that would like sort of allow for a disabled Spider-Man. And I think that that's a little clever. I'll give them credit for that for sure. Let's see. I don't know this one. Andrew Jefferson says, can't forget Spider's Man, thousands of spiders in a human suit. I don't think I know that one. Let me try to bang through the last of these. Oh, there's not much. Okay. I won't talk about this much because, hey, you either like G.I. Joe or you don't. I like G.I. Joe a lot, and specifically, I like the comic written by Larry Hama. To me, that's what G.I. Joe is. More than the toy, more than the cartoon, more than the movies, it's the comic, and it's the comic written by Larry Hama. To me, that's what G.I. Joe is. These last few issues, there's only 2 more after this in the IDW run. The Joes are going onto Cobra Island, where they've launched a casino, and Dr. Mindbender has brought back Genghis Khan to lead them. I'm just trying to see if there's a good image of him somewhere in here. But anyway, yeah, okay. So he comes out and he says that you will now address me as Serpentor Khan. So it's essentially a new version of Serpentor that's not as crazy. He's really like very much Genghis Khan, not everybody, like with like lots of different leaders of history in his mind. He's way more powerful. Give this stream a like and keep reading comics. Well, Steve, thank you for the super chat. That's really, really nice of you. That's really nice of you. Anyway, it's a good threat. And Cobra has captured the current Snake Eyes, so they plan to brainwash him and make their own incredibly invincible ninja. And if Cobra had Snake Eyes, game over, basically. Let's see. I saw new Radiant Black peeking out. Banger issue. Lauren, I'm about to talk to it, because basically we're going better and better and better with some of these. Although I will say, again, the Donny Cates Ryan Stegman book, Vanish, that does, again, get a strong recommend from me. But not quite book of the week. Creepshow. Okay. So Creepshow was originally movies by George Romero and Stephen King. When they couldn't basically get the rights to do Tales from the Crypt, they made their own version. And the movies act like they're based on comics, but the movies were original stories. Stephen King wrote, George Romero directed. Those first 2 movies are great. There's a third one, not so great. Okay, so we had the movies. Recently, Shudder, the streaming horror service, created a Creepshow TV show. Same sort of vein. Anthology, works very well. Robert Kirkman's Skybound Publishing, through Image, has now released a Creepshow comic, which is just funny because even though it acted like it was from a comic, it's never actually been from a comic. But now it is. And it's a badass horror anthology. This is awesome. It feels very much like if EC Comics was still making horror today, yeah, this is what they'd make. We've got first story by Chris Burnham. We've got the next one by Paul Dini and Stephen Langford. Artists Adriano Lucas and John McCrae. And you know what? I don't want to show you everything because the fun of like these horror things is like the twist in the last couple pages, right? There's like a weird, dark moral lesson learned. But the first one deals with taking too much candy when it says take one. And then the second story is like this mother wanted to get a either a clown or a princess or something for her daughter's birthday. She can't find one. She gets this thing called Shingo. And when no one's looking, Shingo starts eating the kids or anyone around. But there's a twist beyond even that. So I'm not giving everything away. It's dark and satirical. It's really, really cool. Let's see. Tick Goblin talking about the Creepshow first movie. Stephen King's farmer character in the first movie is my ultimate hero. Yeah, I have read Ice Cream Man. Solid, weird, surreal, dark horror. Shingo. This just came out. Good timing, right? We're about to move into spooky season. I recommend it. This is fun. I hope that this does well enough that it continues past, like, I don't know if this is a limited series or ongoing, but it's really cool. is it like the original King writes in comic? In some ways, I mean, it's got that same host and everything. Yeah, it's good. It's good. If you like horror, you're going to like it. Radiant Black. Okay. Kyle Higgins, and in this one, his co-writer, Lawrence Holmes, does something really cool for this issue. One of the characters in Radiant Black is called Radiant Yellow, okay? And he has the ability to sort of perceive time differently. Like he can perceive some of the different paths that time can go on. This follows him across 4 different time periods. Him as a young man in 84, before he ever got the powers. Him in 2002, when he has like about a 20-year-old daughter with his wife. Him in 2020, when he's lost his job, he's all alone, and like leads up to him getting his powers. And then the near future, 2038, as he tries to correct the time stream. And all the way across each one, it stays in that time period, but you'd still want to read each 2-page spread and then go to the next page, because it sort of like jumps forward a little bit in time every once in a while. But it's interesting to see a man, like basically every 20 years through his life, the ups and downs, what he's learned and what mistakes are still made, the things that he's tried to do right and still can't quite get right, and how that fills him with some regrets so that he wants to make things right towards the end. It's cool, folks. This is a really innovative storytelling issue that comes up with some new storytelling methods. I don't know. It's unique. It's a really cool standalone issue. We've met Radiant Yellow before, but if you haven't read Radiant Black or know this character, this is a good standalone issue about him instead of Radiant Black. It's really cool. I loved it. Yeah, Chris turned me on to ICM early on. I am grateful. I forget where I talked about it. You know what? I must have made one of my sort of October horror month top 10 videos, and I included Ice Cream Man one year. I'm positive that's where I mentioned it. I'm positive. And let's see. Out of Voida says, sold at Creepshow. Love the movies and why I got into the Tales from the Crypt EC comics. Totally get it. Here's my pick of the week, I think. Even though I loved a lot of those things. Spy Family. New issue of the manga came out, Volume 8. This is a story by Tatsuya Endo. What's it about? Okay. Lloyd Forger is the world's greatest spy. And he's sent on a mission to get close to a man who I guess is like creating war on the other side of a country that's divided, kind of like Cold War era Germany. Okay. To that end, the way he decides he's going to get closest to this guy who's very reclusive is to get a daughter and have her go to the same elite school as that guy's son. Unknown to him, the girl that he adopts from an orphanage is a psychic. So she totally knows that he's a spy. She finds it interesting. She's adorable. Along the way, they also decide that they need a mother to make things look convincing. And they get this woman who's also looking to sort of have a fake family because she actually moonlights as an assassin. And this is all kept secret from each other. Oh, also, it's not as important, but their dog can see the future. It's a funny book. This one is all the characters are on a cruise ship together. Anya has used her psychic powers to win her father and her a set of tickets to go on a cruise. Meanwhile, their mother is pretending to work for her government job, but is actually being hired to protect someone against assassins. And here's the thing. Even though like we're dealing with a spy and a psychic and an assassin, they all really start to care for each other as a family. And it's just that they're also keeping secrets from each other. Anya is hilarious. They're all hilarious in their own ways. This one has a lot of action because it's basically just a series of assassins trying to kill this woman that Anya has to, that Lore, the mother, has to protect. How do you test who is the greatest spy in the world? Is it a written test? It's, why is Bond the best? It's because like Lloyd can do everything. He's great at disguises. He's great at, faking his way into like any situation. He's got like the highest mission completion ratio. I didn't know the dog could see into the future. I know. And so like, of course he can't communicate, but he can see glimpses of the future. It's really funny. Gene says, that sounds so funny. It is. It's so funny. And the art is good. The art is really good. So it makes it engaging. I love this book. I love this because honestly, like as silly as it is, what keeps me engaged is the heart, because each of these people want to be part of a family without really knowing that they always wanted to be part of a family. Bond sucks at being a spy. He's just good at killing people. Well, I guess in some ways you're right. He has gotten found out a lot in some of the movies, but he can do anything, right? He can ski, he can fly a plane, he can drive a fast car, etc. By the way, also got a couple other things. Hold on. This one I'm excited to show you. Before I show you these, let me put this aside. This is a big one. Just got this. The Wintermen Artists Edition. Unfortunately, we lost John Paul Leon, but there was a crowdfunding campaign to get this book of his from 2005 published as an artist edition, which means they've got the actual like original pages scanned in here. It's a great way to look at his artwork. You can still read the whole story, but you can really pore over the details. You can see like where things have been corrected with some whiteout or something like that. It's pretty interesting. John Paul Leon was a really, really talented artist. Just so good at composition, at shading, at like finding interesting hard angles to lay things out. Yeah, Indy Kuhn is impressed with the book, I guess. Whoa. Jim Mahfood, that Winterman book looks so damn cool. JPL as a legend. IDW put it out. I think it was. Great book. Yeah. So anyway, well, there you go. Like two very impressive professionals happen to be in the chat room. Lovely to have you here, gentlemen. If they're saying like, things like, whoa, or that book is great, I think that's worth knowing about. So if by any chance, your comic store happens to get one of these, or you find it online for a good price, it is a great book. If you don't, then I'd recommend getting the original Wintermen comics, But this is John Paul Leon arguably at his best. I mean, the amount of detail he could do for like, sort of like a layout like this, the machinery and stuff. Let's see, that's one. Is that? I'm trying to figure out the perspective lines on this, but it's nice when you can't instantly recognize them because there's just, it looks authentic. And yet it isn't so rigid that it's sterile. It isn't sterile, like how he colors these windows and stuff is like, he obviously went pretty fast and stuff like that. But it gives that some, not just energy, but honestly some sort of like you want just a hint of messiness within your order. You want just a little bit of chaos to make all the organized stuff look good. And yeah, I would say that like an example of that would be like perfume, right? The most expensive perfumes also will include something stinky within it, just a tiny bit. And it's not always noticeable, but you'll sort of like, you can sort of, it subconsciously makes you notice the difference. And I think a good artist can do that too. A lot of order and just a little bit of chaos too. It's a good contrast. This is interesting. I could see that he flecked some white out here to just sort of like help this like sort of energy coming out of this machine, like, sort of like be highlighted. I can see that he did that when you look at an artist's edition. Anyway, big book, but a great one. It's really, really lovely. And somebody asked, tell that to Brian Bolland. Says, yeah, you're right. Like, he doesn't always have that sort of chaos, but you know what? He's something else. He's something else. Brian Bolland is. Who printed this? Zoop. This was published through Zoop. And yes, IDW Publishing. Yep, IDW did this as a campaign through Zoop. They're a newer crowdfunding site, but they do well. Here we go. Look at that super chat. Do you know any artists that don't get the public recognition they deserve but are well respected by other artists? It's a great question, and off the top of my head, I'm just thinking in that headspace, but I'm sure that there's a lot of underrated artists, basically. I think that that's what we're getting at there is underrated artists. And let me just keep it in the back of my head, Andrew. Off the top of my head, it doesn't leap to me, but it's a great question, and I'd love to give more credit to people like that. That's a good point. Also, last week I talked about these. These are technically illegal Ninja Turtles books from Russia. Okay? From the 90s. They didn't have the rights to do Ninja Turtle stories. And they include illustrations every once in a while. And I got some of them. And someday, hopefully, I can find somebody that can help me translate them. The art is not very good. But what's funny about them is that they'll not just rip off Ninja Turtles. They also have the Ninja Turtles meet characters like Batman, the Predator, or in this particular book, the Tall Man from the Phantasm horror movies. Oh, there we go. That's a great one to list. Andy Kuhn says Alex Nino. Great Filipino artist. I think everybody that's seen his art would go like, Nino is one of the best. And yet he hasn't necessarily had the same impact that some other Filipino artists got. I don't know. Hello from Brazil. You make my weeks nicer. Obrigado, Daniel. Obrigado. Anyway, so I got on eBay 4 of these Ninja Turtles Russian books. What's funny is if you look at it, these are the same drawings of the Ninja Turtles, right? That's like the same pose and everything, but each one is actually done by a different artist. So some of them are way sloppier than others. Actually, these 2 are pretty clean, but then this one, like Donatello looks cross-eyed. Michelangelo looks like some sort of weird, like extra mutant. And then in this one, like Michelangelo is looking to the side and their eyes are like little tiny slits. Like it's just crazy. They had a nice food lunch with the Predator. He looked very happy. The Tall Man? Yes. Do you think you will ever cover the trope of an evil Superman in a vid? Probably. The Phantasm TMNT crossover I never knew I wanted. Yeah, that's this one. That's this one. I don't know how to read Russian, so but that's the title of the Russian book where the Ninja Turtles fight the Tall Man from Phantasm. So, hardcover books. Crazy. All right. I'll start drawing something, and let's swap that now. There we go. Whoa! And I'll start talking about some of the news. I'm going to draw this little Duke from G.I. Joe. And I just told you, in one of those reviews that the IDW G.I. Joe run is about to end. There's a really nice person who's been big in the G.I. Joe fan community for ages, Diana Davis, who IDW has had as sort of their continuity expert. She's worked on a bunch of the different G.I. Joe books as their continuity expert. And I heard that she collects Duke drawings. So since I appreciate everything about the G.I. Joe comic, I thought maybe I'd do a Duke, and if she wants it, I'd send that to her because it can't hurt. Oh, that's cool. There we go. Kevin Maley. Yo, Joe. Did I ever finish the Vampirella cover? Almost. I'm in touch with Dynamite, and yeah, we're figuring out like where that will go and stuff like that. And then Gantris here. Hey, Chris, do you think you'll do Inktober again some year? Probably some year, but right now, I just like with my other job and this, I just can't fit it in. I just can't fit it in. But I'll draw on these. You know, like this is like almost the only time I personally have to draw, which stinks because I love to draw. Well, I'll sketch, you know, I'll doodle and stuff, but I'm not like, I have no time to myself to just draw what I want. It's just, it's frustrating because I love drawing and I want to get better. You know, I know I need a lot of work, but you can only get better if you actually have the time to sit down and draw. And I don't always have that. Let's see. I did not know you were a Lego fan. I am a huge Lego fan. And you know what? Like doing two jobs. I have a job selling cars and I do YouTube. And I have had to sacrifice certain things. You know, I don't see as many movies as I used to. I love movies. I have almost completely cut out video games, which I love playing video games, but you know, I can't do that. And I haven't been able to build as many Lego as I'd like to. There's a lot of sets out there that I want to build, but I have no time for that lately. He's the biggest Lego fan. It's true. The things I get are always the biggest sets Lego produces. Those are the ones that I like to build. Love it. Oh, thank you. Chris Griffin says, I like your fan art and do a Powerbomb 1. And that was something I did, you know, here on the show for fun. And then Daniel Warren Johnson reached out and was like, send it to me. I'm going to be putting fan art in the back. Lovely. Thank you. What a nice guy. Really nice guy. Let's say, I know the pain. I used to play games daily, and now I haven't touched my PS4 in almost 6 months. Yeah, maybe some of it is that they're not releasing as many AAA titles right now because, you know, they want to transition to PS5 and, you know, Xbox One, but how do you? I have not seen the new Lego Razor Crest. No. We demand news. I know you do. All right. Then tell you what. Let's start off with some of the biggest news. Give me a sec here to pull up what I want to talk about. Okay. We're going to talk. Yeah. We're going to talk about this first. Rob Liefeld. Hey, you know, like, obviously, he's got his detractors, but he's great at some things. Rob Liefeld is great at marketing. If he does a book, people still check it out. That's impressive. That is. And I loved him in the 90s when I was a kid. There was something energetic, and I would argue a little cartoony about that stuff. So, hold on. Here's a super chat that I want to acknowledge. Steve Sorensen says, Inktober's a treat for all us comic troopers. I know you are busy. It is understandable that mental health is important. These weekly shows rule. I love doing these weekly shows, getting to talk to you guys about comics. It's fun. Okay? Thank you. Oh, that's so nice to hear. Shin Matthias, I backed Bullet Adventures Kickstarter thanks to last week's feature. That was fun for me. I'm not always going to have a guest on, but if I've got somebody I'm friendly with that's doing something comics and I can have them on the show so that I can sort of joke around and riff, that's fun for me. So every once in a while, I'll probably have a guest on if like the timing works out, just so you know. Or if there's like a pro that I respect that like wants to be on the show and this is like the time that we could make it work, like that's something I'm interested in doing in the future. Anyway, so you can see this image here, right? This is, this is Spider-Man #1 for Whatnot. That's like a digital release of Spider-Man, okay? Like Rob Liefeld did an homage of New Mutants 98. Tell you what, let me pull that up, actually. Yeah. Let me mark that, too. You've had a wildly diverse career as a comic writer, Kirkman proofreader, costumed helper, celeb-adjacent gamer, that's true, YouTube essayist, live stream inker, and more. What's your proudest creative venture? Wow, Jared. Tough question, but that was a really nice donation. What's my proudest creative venture? Probably creating the YouTube channel for Comic Tropes. That overall, creating that channel and just being able to put that out there in the world. It's almost always going to be one of my more recent things. But also, I am proud of the fact that the book I worked on, Trickster, got nominated for an Eisner. Didn't win, but considering I'm not like a full-time professional in the comics industry, that's still a nice feather to have in my cap when people like will come at me over an essay and say like, you don't know what you're talking about, bro. And I'm like, well, I did get nominated for an Eisner in some way, sort of. I'm not like me personally, but still like a book I worked on did. So, it's not nothing. It's not nothing. Okay. So I want to show you something. Let me pull up the original real quick. Originally in the 90s, Rob Liefeld drew some New Mutants issues, including issue 98. And I like that I can show these images with you guys. Let's see what I can find here. There we go. This guy. Deadpool was still pretty new. Okay. We've got Gideon. Well, we've forgotten about the externals, but it's important to look at this original real quick and see why it might have worked. All right. Maybe not the most dynamic pose for Deadpool, but he's new, and we're seeing like his full costume. We're seeing this new enigmatic guy, and then we've got like some pretty bold, reactions from the New Mutants themselves. They're all on a certain plane, and they're reacting. And I look at that and I go, okay, that caught my eye as a kid. There's something also a little bit cartoony about like how he illustrated some of these faces. Then you go to this, and I was looking at it going like, I'm just giving my own opinions before I talk about the news. I don't think it's quite as good. First of all, these faces, surprise, Mysterio's there. Did you know that Mysterio was in there? That is a hard character to make out here. And I think some of this coloring doesn't serve Liefeld as well as these flat, bold colors. We've got yellow, blue, and red. Yellow, blue, red. Pretty dynamic. We switch over here, and you do see Venom and Spider-Man, but this stuff is all so muted. You can't really make this stuff out as well. So I don't think that works as well. And so I think that this modern coloring doesn't serve him as well. There's also some strange inking stuff going on with the abs on both of these characters. It's like, I don't quite get what he was going for there. And finally, if we look at Venom's lower half, like what? I draw a line down here, and he just sort of has these elephant feet, just these stumps, like Stiltman or something like that. I don't quite understand what's going on here. And I'm not trying to throw this whole thing under the bus, but I think that these legs he could have done a better job on, and I don't think the coloring serves it as well as the original. I think that the original stands out pretty well. Whether you like Liefeld or not, I think that that's a fairly engaging and striking cover. But anyway, he did make this cover, okay? That's just background. Let me make sure I didn't miss any big chats. Okay. And then I'm trying to load the news article about it. Anyway, okay, so he posted this. Don Simpson. How many people out there know Don Simpson? I hope a lot of you do know him, but if you don't, Don Simpson has done a lot of self-published and indie comics, and he's does a lot of humor comics. Megaton Man, right? That's like a parody of superhero stuff. Definitely gave early breaks to guys like Eric Larson. He published like the first version of Savage Dragon. Well, Don Simpson posted that cover that Liefeld drew, and he says, folks, the American comic book is officially dead. This is the worst POS I've ever seen in my life. Yikes, that is harsh. That is harsh. I don't know what to say to all that. That is extreme. That is extreme. Let me jump back here. That just seems like a lot. That just seems Them's fighting words, right? Them's fighting words. And yeah, Liefeld did not react great to that. By the way, Don Simpson has been a bit of a pot stirrer in the past. He is. But, Liefeld also is one to not, just leave things well enough alone. He's a natural marketer. He knows like what stuff gets him attention. And he responded to that. And, he kind of used the argument he uses a lot, which is, I've sold the most comics for this. And it's true. He sold the most issues of Avengers with Heroes Reborn. That one sold more than others. He's got for American Monthly Comics, the second best-selling comic ever with X-Force #1. Like 500,000 or something. I don't know, million. Whatever, ultimately, I don't think it affects my life too much to see two creators sort of arguing like this, but it was pretty extreme, like what Don said. And Liefeld came back and, sort of attacked him. And it's just interesting because Don Simpson has done image work before. He did a Splitting Image, sort of an early 90s book at Image that was like a parody of the creators. So at one point, they all got along pretty well. And clearly that's not necessarily the case anymore, which is, I guess, a little too bad. But that's been sort of the drama. Some of the posts that they've each made have been deleted. So, who knows where things stand. But they're not happy with each other is the short version. Yeah, so that's that. Was there anything else to that I should have mentioned? Just scrolling through. There was a lot of like back and forth here with Don Simpson talking about meeting Extreme Studios back in the day. A lot of comic pros responding to Don Simpson. Like a lot of people were like, "Nah, it's a little harsh," but I'm trying to see if there's any other pull quotes that I should really mention. I don't know. So right now, that artwork that we first looked at, this thing, yeah, I think Liefeld has that on sale online for $10,000. I'm pretty sure that's the number I saw. I don't know if he's going to sell that for $10,000, but we'll see. We'll see. If he can, more power to him, right? I mean, if it's worth that to somebody and he can make $10,000, good. But see what I mean by these like sort of ink strokes across the abs? I don't quite get what these are necessarily meant to indicate. It's a little confusing to me. I don't know. When you zoom in, I see what you mean by the muddy abs. Thank you, Caveman. Yeah, just don't quite get that. Anyway, I thought the original was decent. I did. So I don't have anything against Rob Liefeld necessarily as a person. I really don't. I know I've criticized his work, and all I can say there is I'm just trying to be honest with my thoughts on things. But as a person, I don't necessarily think he's like, a bad person. He's made mistakes, that's for sure. I mean, actually, I think he does have a Kickstarter that was funded like 7 years ago that he hasn't completed. Yeah, maybe I don't know. John says I'm being polite. I don't know. Venom symbol has 6 legs? Wait, really? 1, 2. Oh, yeah. Wait, 1, 2, 3. He's got 7 legs because he's got 4 on this side and he's got 1, 2, 3 on this side. Huh. 7-legged spider. All right. Well, he, whatever. Whatever. Let's move on to another piece of news. Let's move on while I ink this. Let's talk about distribution a little bit. I've always found distribution fascinating. Made an episode about that relatively early on when I had the channel, how that works and how the direct market came into existence. For about 30 years, Diamond was basically the only game in town for comic book distribution. Okay, there were a couple small ones, but yeah, I mean Diamond did most stuff. I feel like there's a way to make this smaller, and that I'm not figuring out. Hold on. No, I can't figure it out. What was I talking about? Okay, so distribution. Obviously, there are now several distributors. The last several years, things have changed, and once the pandemic started, some of that stuff shifted even faster to get new exclusive distributors for certain publishers. Well, there's been a big change again this week, and that was that. Hold on. Dark Horse Comics has left Diamond as their exclusive comics distributor. They've gone with Penguin Random House. So now Penguin Random House is the exclusive distributor for Marvel, IDW, and now Dark Horse. So Diamond's biggest client is Image Comics at this point, because DC also has their own distributor. Actually, they've got a couple distributors that are exclusive. That's a pretty big deal. You know, Diamond continues to sort of lose clients in a sense. Diamond Distribution, specifically their president, Steve Geppi, responded to this. I would argue it's not the best response if you actually read it. Like, I don't have it pulled up here, but he really sort of like, it's not quite trash talking. How do I even explain this? But he does sort of like massively downplay the importance. You know, he's like, Dark Horse was not important to us at all. You know, they were like about 1% of our business. Our overall business, and we still distribute all their non-comic book stuff. You know, so like if if Dark Horse has T-shirts or games or action figures, you know, Diamond will still distribute those, and they can still like buy stuff wholesale, but that's basically the same price that anybody can get. I'm doing very well, Solstice Art. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Diamond also owns the premium action figure statue company, Diamond Select, that gets a lot of work from Marvel Disney. Yep, they do. They've got a lot of like different revenue streams. I'm not saying that they don't. It's a little bit more than just comics. They have like comic related things that they distribute to not just comic book stores, but you know, nerd adjacent places as well. I don't know. Probably not like Spencer's Gifts, but you know, maybe GameStop or something. I think that they've got some sort of relationship with, although I think that that's like having they're button heads these days, because GameStop is saying that they won't pay him, and Diamond's like, no, you owe us. So there's plenty of drama going on there. But on Bleeding Cool, which again, Rich Johnston gets scoops, but he's a bit of a pot stirrer. You know, he's looking for the clicks. And hey, I mean, I'm looking for the clicks a little bit too with like the titles and thumbnails that I create. So I'm not acting like I'm innocent here. But Bleeding Cool had some quotes from actual store owners, from 5 different big store owners talking about this. And all of them said that they're happier working with Penguin Random House than they were with Diamond because of how much cheaper the shipping itself is. You know, they say like, you know, Diamond knew what they were doing for packing and stuff like that. And there was like, you know, an existing system that wasn't like hard to maneuver in, but Diamond really, in the retailer's opinion, sort of gouged them for that service. And that Penguin Random House might charge a little bit more for some of the comics themselves, but charges significantly less for the shipping. So it ends up saving them money. Hello, Axel. Let's see. Clay says GameStop is selling most of its store merch at clearance prices now. Well, they're not doing great. You know, anyway. Let's see. Penguin has been around for a century compared to Diamond, and it probably has shipping contracts with the USPS. Yeah, they probably do. So it's a little new for them to do direct store shipping, but they definitely know what they're doing. They're a big organization. John Dorsey, thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the gifted. Random question, sir. Do you remember the very first comic you bought, or at least the one that started your love of the medium? I definitely do. I remember the first one I physically paid for, and that was an issue of Transformers, something like issue 16 or something from Marvel. I was really into Transformers at the time. Didn't know that there was such a thing as a comic. So when I saw that at a convenience store, I picked that up, and it was okay. But what really, and then I went back to that convenience store to see like what else they had, and I tried G.I. Joe. And the G.I. Joe comic was really good. So G.I. Joe brought me way more into comics. And from there, I picked up Spider-Man and then like Iron Man and Batman. So those, like, that all happened in rapid succession. Quickly discovered Ninja Turtles, The Tick, things like that. Yeah, this is fair. DJ Convoy does point out something. Hey, I'm not trying to say that Penguin's perfect. I've heard there have been a lot of beat-up comics through Penguin Random House shipping-wise. I heard that too from my store, but I've heard that it's gotten a lot better. I heard that like initially they didn't know like how to package them quite right, but I've heard that they've made big improvements there for whatever it's worth. Yeah, No has a similar thing. My first was the Transformers movie adaptation. Yeah, that was around the time I think I was getting into comics, was 86, right around 1986, maybe like that. That was when I got into comics. Let's see. My LCS complains about Diamond like it's the weather. It's sad to see that happen in the sense that, like, I'm never for a monopoly, right? Like, so I think that the competition overall is a good thing, but it's sad that, like, Diamond had like 30 years to where they didn't really compete much. And you'd think, okay, they should like perfect it by then, but they haven't really perfected it. And so that's why, like, you know, so these stores are like, you know, not feeling loyal to them. Loyalty is important, and you know, it's a partnership. I don't know. Penguin may soon find out why Diamond charged so much for shipping. Well, maybe, but I don't know. It's something worth following. Something worth following. Here's another, like, when somebody got into comics. For John Dorsey, it was 88. Conan the Barbarian, number 208 at a 7-Eleven. And I miss that stuff. I will say that, folks. I miss the days when comics were at convenience stores. It blows my mind that that isn't a thing anymore. Because I would think you'd sell so many copies if and could bring the price down if you could sell at those venues anymore. It blows my mind that that wasn't profitable, or that like they phased that out. I think that was short-term thinking, mostly in the 90s when like, you know, speculation was huge and like comic book stores were king. How did you end up liking the fan-submitted comics from a few weeks ago? Well, I haven't read them all, but I was very impressed with the diversity and the creativity on display with everything that I saw. So I'll have to do another one of those unboxings soon with anything else that came in. It's really fun. I bought comics in my grocery store regularly as recently as 2014. That's impressive. That's impressive. My first comic was Archie in the early 2000s. Archie had, I would say, some of the best supermarket distribution, like way later than everybody else. Me too. I used to buy comics at Circle K. Yeah. Sometimes they have random 3-packs of old comics at Wegmans. Do they still do that there? That's interesting. I thought that those 3-packs were all done. My first comic was a Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers or a Donald Duck reprint. Cool. Cool. First introduced to comics by 5th grade teacher who had a stash for us to read. That's fun. That's fun. I like that. What else? Okay. I've got a big story. Settle down, kids. It's time for one of those big stories. I don't know what voice that necessarily was, but yeah, this one's a heartbreaker. So hopefully I can relay it appropriately and make you feel it. This is about a manga creator. Her name is Shike Ide. Shike Ide. Don Pardo. Yeah. Musical guest. And your host. You know, I always go to the New York Comic-Con, and there's always, Saturday Night Live is playing, and I've tried a couple years to get tickets to go see that show in person, and so far no luck, but I would like to see Saturday Night Live in person. I would like that. Musical guest. What was I thinking? So, Ide. She was famous as far back as the 60s for like a volleyball manga. She's 74 today. She was catfished. She was tricked by a scam artist pretending to be Hulk actor Mark Ruffalo. She was tricked for years. She estimates that she gave him over the years over $500,000 US. So much money. Oh, this is heartbreaking, folks. She saw he reached out to her on Facebook, right? And she's, I guess, older, so she wasn't skeptical enough about this, and she believed she was talking to Mark Ruffalo. It, of course, was never Mark Ruffalo. And the guy, said all sorts of things like, hey, I oh, you're my friend. He got friendly and he got romantic with her and said that, she understood him in a way that no one else did. And she believed it, because I guess she was lonely. Yeah, this is exactly, that's horrible. Yep. Damn rough. There's so many things. Scammer. It's so messed up that people prey on the elderly like that. Yeah. If you have an older grandparent or aunt or uncle, talk to them sometime to tell them to be skeptical about anything online. You gotta, because it's all social engineering, And this guy went to extreme lengths, just to be clear, because he would tell her things like, I've got health bills. I need money for a plane ticket. He would say that he's, I think, going through a divorce and that he's interested in Ide instead. And she would just keep giving him money, and he would tell her thank you, and that you understand me in a way that nobody else does. And you're like, well, at some point she had to be skeptical, right? This guy used deep fake technology to get on video calls with her and talk to her. So she saw Mark Ruffalo talking to her on Zoom calls and stuff like that. And she believed it, because you know what? You'll believe what you want to believe. But that deep fake technology, that's heartbreaking to think that that's how it can get used. Yeah, I totally recommend this channel that MF is talking about, Kit Boga. Kit Boga's videos are pretty wild when talking to scammers. Kit Boga is fantastic at, he gets these scammers that think they're talking to elderly people, and he has a voice changer, and if necessary, he also has deep fake technology to make himself look like an older person. And he'll just keep the scammers on the phone for as long as possible. It's funny. He comes up with totally weird, somewhat implausible scenarios, but he does it so gradually that the scammers fall for it all the time. Really funny channel where he's doing some good and letting people know about this stuff. He doesn't get racist or weird or anything like that. He's just trying to waste their time and sometimes confront them. But this is a big industry out there, folks. Can we help her? You know what? In a way you can. Yeah. Oh, listen to this. Listen to this. My grandma got scammed out of money by people claiming I was kidnapped in Spain and she needed to pay ransom. Older people didn't grow up with the internet the same way we do, we have natural skepticisms. I'm sure even us, we could get fooled by people, you know, or people can like social engineer us to get our login. People get their identity stolen every day. But eDay, there's more to this. Let's see. Steve Sorensen with a super chat. I always want to acknowledge that. Shudder has a rediscovered George A. Romero called The Amusement Park, and it's all about how the elderly are taken advantage of and treated so badly. I've heard about that. I don't have Shudder right now, so I haven't seen it. But I liked a lot of Romero, so I am curious to see that. What else did I want to say about this? Here, let me actually share something about this story that I'm talking about here. I'm just doing some behind the scenes stuff here, and we'll add this. Okay, so this is Ide-san. So she's a manga artist, right? She's a writer. And so the reason this is coming out is she's owned up to all of this. Yeah, look, she got swindled out of 75 million yen. That's about $523,000 over the years. Okay? She's the queen of the ladies comics. She thought she was talking to Mark Ruffalo since February of 2018. So almost 4 years she was getting scammed, and you know, she's got money. She talks about how she was vulnerable to this because when she was young, she married a violent man who led a life of debauchery. She divorced him. Like she was, you know, that's more rare in Japanese culture than American. And she raised 3 children practically by herself before she divorced him. Okay, so this is a lady that is strong and has done a lot of great creative stuff, a lot of great stuff for her family. You know, this video call helped trick her. It cleared her suspicions. And anyway, she was tricked, right? But here's how we can help her. She's decided to tell her story. She's a writer. How's she going to do that? She's made a novel, and it's been adapted into a comic, a manga. It's called Poison Love. So, theoretically, if you're interested, I don't know if it's been translated into English, but the book is called Poison Love. Chike Ide. That's the name of this artist. Over $500,000. And trust me, her daughter was telling her, like, you know, and her daughter did get through to her, but it took a little convincing. Her daughter was like, you're getting scammed. I don't think this person is real. And, you know, I guess good that she eventually saw through it, and that she, how brave is it? How brave is it, though, that she is talking about this? Because how embarrassing is this? It is embarrassing. It hurts me to say this stuff because this lady seems like a nice person. She raised 3 kids and made a bunch of cool comics that people love. Okay? Look at that. In September, they were unofficially married online. She thought she was married to Mark Ruffalo, which I know sounds absurd to us. But scammers do this every single day until they can find a vulnerable person. Who knows how many people the scammer talked to before, you know, found a target, and a target that had good money, you know? It's terrible. It's terrible. This story is on, if you want to read more, the Asahi Shimbun, okay? I read a lot of different sites to get comic book news, folks. I'm looking for all sorts of weird search terms. I read stuff other than just like, oh, what's on a CBR this week, you know? But I found this one very interesting and a little heartbreaking. And I guess I thought that it was worth sharing because it could allow us to know, hey, there are scammers out there worldwide, and maybe it's worth us thinking about talking to our parents or our grandparents or aunts, uncles, things like that. I was confused because Asahi is a good beer. Asahi, I think, means number 1. So that's all that is. What's this? Can't wait for a Japanese movie adaptation starring Mark Ruffalo. Well, I don't think he's going to do that. Come on. I don't think Mark Ruffalo has honestly been made aware of this. I mean, I'm just trying to spread the word. Like, this is something that's known in Japan. I don't think it's super well known here in America. Like, and this did just happen this past week that like this story broke. Oh my God, look at this heartbreak. Matt says, my great aunt got scammed out of around $250,000 by someone pretending to be her grandson saying he needed money. You're right. Ichiban is number one. Asahi means something like that, though. That just gave me goosebumps, Matt. That just gave me goosebumps. It just breaks my heart to think of like these things happening to people. And you'd think like somebody like, that like must have, a professional artist. They must have people around them, like family and editors and stuff. But it can happen to anyone because people are embarrassed. Anyway. I know that isn't a fun ha-ha story to do because I can't really joke about that one at all. Like, I just feel sympathy, but I definitely wanted to share it because maybe we can all sort of get something out of that for the future, right? Maybe, hopefully. Yeah. Asahi means morning sun. Oh, maybe. Okay, I just confused it. It probably does mean something like that. My Japanese is terrible. But, by the way, since we're talking about Japan, don't know if you saw this, but Japan has announced that they're opening their borders to travelers. You no longer need to be a resident, a student, a businessman. You no longer need a visa. There's no cap, and there's no need to be in a tour group as of October 11th. So keep your eye on that. But supposedly October 11th, Japan is finally reopening. I'm definitely talking to my wife about like when we could next go because we love it there. We have had so many great trips, and my loose thinking is maybe this sort of like April or May, something like that would be nice. We'll see. But boy, would I love to go back there. But yeah, Japan is, that's what I've heard, Zach. That's what I've heard. He says, no cap for real. That's what I heard. Just to be clear, we're getting more and more people that are vaccinated. And Japan makes a lot of money off of tourism, and they have not for like over 2 years. Businesses have been strongly urging the government to follow what the rest of the world is doing and allow visitors. You're probably gonna have to wear a mask everywhere there, but yeah. And Daniel has some rules here. Yep, you still need to be vaccinated at least 3 times to avoid CPR tests in Japan, right? Which I would think would be stupid not to. You don't necessarily have to have the COVID screening. You have to like be able to prove that you are vaccinated. I'm quadruple vaccinated at this point. I've had 4 shots. How expensive are trips to Japan usually? It's going to depend on where you're traveling from and how far you're booking it out. I would say that like flight-wise, you could probably get flights $1,000 to $1,200 or something. Yeah. My sister mentioned like my mom just took a trip. She went to Italy, so that's kind of cool. So most countries have been open now for travel for a while. Japan is basically the last first world country to allow people to come back in. They are still like a little bit more isolationist than a lot of other countries, and that's fine. I've been vaxxed twice. Well, I recommend getting your booster as soon as you get. And great point, Andrew. Masks are more socially acceptable in East Asia, even before COVID. 100% right. So it's really not going to be a big deal. Anyway, A-Man says, I still need to get the other shots. Damn procrastination. Yeah, guys, as somebody that got COVID back before, I would like there was any eligibility for a vaccine, and I was being as safe as possible. I wore a mask. I didn't go out and do anything social. I just did work and stayed at home. We didn't see family. We had our groceries delivered. I still got it. I was like touch and go for whether I would survive when I got it. I was in the hospital for a week. It was terrible. And look, Clay says this. I had 2 shots and a booster, still got COVID for 2 weeks. All I can say is if you get it and you're vaccinated boosted, it's probably not going to be that bad for you. Probably not. because I did also get it once more after I was vaxxed in one boost. And I was just sort of like, it was like dealing with a cold, like a bad cold, but like I didn't have to go to the hospital. Yeah. Let's see. What are you drawing? Looks good as always. Yeah, just sort of doodling out Duke from G.I. Joe for somebody and talking about news. But let's stay with talking about Japan stuff, since I just talked about one manga artist and some of the news there about Japan. Who here knows the manga or the anime Hunter x Hunter? Hunter x Hunter is very popular. I'm going to wait for a moment just to see how many people out there maybe read or enjoy or watch Hunter x Hunter. Eventually, Zach, eventually. Duke deserves his name in the window. Yeah, they don't give me that option, but yeah. What are you drawing? Yes. Okay. So here's one person that knows Hunter x Hunter, talking about the creator, Yoshihiro Togashi. It's been on my watch list forever. Yes, my friend is a mega fan. My roommate really loves Hunter x Hunter. I have seen the anime. Season 5 is 60 episodes long. Yeah, there's a lot to it. Okay, I'm missing a few. This is going fast. Isn't it Hunter x Hunter? That's how it's written. It's pronounced Hunter x Hunter. Just like, what book did I just review today? I reviewed Spy Family, and it has that X, but it's just pronounced Spy Family. The X is a stylistic thing that the Japanese like, okay? So, whatever. There we go. Love Hunter x Hunter. Cool. Hunter x Hunter, so dope. Used to read Hunter x Hunter, turned to poop with the Chimera ants. I don't know it that well. It is one of the better ones. Yep, okay. I'm not familiar with his older work. Oh, I'm more familiar with his older work. Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho. All right. So, Hunter x Hunter is created by a manga artist. For those that don't know, let me catch you up. Yoshihiro Togashi, okay? Well known for a previous manga, Yu Yu Hakusho. Very popular manga and anime. I think even movies, but I don't know if I've seen those. Hunter x Hunter started in Shonen Jump, their weekly comics magazine, back in 1998. 1998, which actually is a while back now. Had COVID 2 weeks ago. Because I was vaccine boosted, it was only one bad day and a half felt like I did heavy drinking the night prior. I'm just glad you're feeling better, Steve. I sincerely am. I want all of you guys to do well. Humble brag, I got paid today. Okay. Totally, Steve. Let's see. Vaccine boosted and just got over my third battle with COVID. Would have been so much worse. Yep. You got to be vaccinated. It's the only way to survive, sincerely. But anyway, okay. Hunter x Hunter started in 1998. Weekly comic. It's been on hiatus for 4 years. No new episodes of the show. I really mean the comic, the manga. No new print for 4 years. And it's gone on other hiatuses before. And the reason for that, as creator Yoshihiro explains it, is he has severe back issues. I'll explain that in a moment. Let me just acknowledge this. Hunter x Hunter is great. Did you ever get into JoJo's? If so, what's your favorite part? I'm still early on in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Squeeze Media, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. I want to get used to like saying that so fast, as though like, the super chats are coming in so fast that I have to bang them out. Go, thank you for the super chat. And just say it as fast as possible. Thank you for the super chat. Anyway, get $1 for every time he says Hunter. I know. Well, that's the title. Togashi has taken these hiatuses, he says, because he's got back problems that make it very painful to sit in a chair for long periods of time. Well, like, what am I doing right now? Like, anytime you're drawing, you got to sit in a chair for long periods of time. So that's why he's taken these hiatuses, to like work on his back problems. At least that's what he says. Let me give you a little more background here. I already told you that Yu Yu Hakusho was popular, right? Just to be clear, this guy is married to Naoko Takeuchi, the lady that created Sailor Moon. So, are these people wealthy? Yeah, they're very wealthy. Okay. They're very well to do. So he can afford to take hiatuses if he just isn't engaged and interested, just to be clear. But he says it's his back problems, and I'm sure that there is truth to that, to be honest. I do believe that. But this week, Shonen Jump announced Hunter x Hunter is coming back, and that's got a lot of fans super buzzed because of how popular it is. Apparently, it's going to come back November 4th. So very, very soon, there will be a new chapter. And yeah, that's a super popular ongoing shonen manga. I thought that that was worth mentioning. And, you know, hopefully Yoshihiro can stick with it for a while. We'll see. We will see. But I know a lot of people love it, and so they want, you know, closure to it at some point. So we'll all just hold out hope. And I believe I read one thing in the past that Yoshihiro said if he really just cannot fix his back issues, he might just have his wife finish it because, you know, he can tell the story to her and stuff. So we'll see. We'll see. Oh, yeah, this is an interesting point, too, that Yo Shockwave points out that is true. He refused to get assistance before, I believe. That is true. He's like famously like wanted to do all the artwork himself. That's not common at all in Japan. It obviously takes a lot longer. Really famous manga artist might be somebody like Takehiko Inoue. Does Slam Dunk, Vagabond. There's another book that's been on hiatus for ages and ages. But also, like, well, that's sort of the opposite. Like, he said that he could only keep up because his assistants did, like, all the backgrounds and stuff like that. He only drew the people. You don't draw from a push-up position? Do you mean on the ground? I don't quite understand. Anyway, I can't wait. Been caught up for a bit. Glad to see it return. Yeah, the one I'm excited to see return, although like big question mark as to exactly what it'll be like, is Berserk. I love Berserk. And, you know, Kentaro Miura is gone, but his best friend was told the story by him before he left, and his friend is also a manga creator, and he said that like he's going to like just write the story exactly as Miura-san told him it would go. And Miura had a lot of great art assistants that can draw in his style, and the art should honestly look pretty darn similar. This is actually fairly common. Human Falafel, he said he redrew some of the chapters because of how bad the art looked in Shonen Jump. A lot of manga artists will redraw stuff for the Tankobon collected editions. You know, sometimes they're just under a deadline to get that weekly book out. I've seen it happen in something as recent as My Hero Academia. So, yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. Hopefully that makes a lot of fans happy, getting more Hunter x Hunter. And I'm sure that will soon be adapted into animation and movies and all sorts of stuff like that, and toys, because Hunter x Hunter is very popular. I didn't realize how long it had been on hiatus. I really didn't. I was like, oh, Hunter x Hunter. I feel like I see that all the time. But anyway. Yes, new Berserk chapters are being released. I'm waiting for the English translation. That's the easiest way for me to read it. So I'm waiting for that, is what I guess I meant. Here's just sort of some goofy news. Let's see. Andrew Jefferson says, favorite G.I. Joes? Is it hashtag? Yeah. Hashtag think tank muffin top. I don't know. But to answer your question, it's Snake Eyes, man. I love Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is the best. I love Snake Eyes. Here's a super chat that I want to acknowledge, and then I'll go on to the next piece of news, which involves The Rock. John Dorsey, thank you. A local dinner house movie theater, Alamo, showing Akira this week, and I'm trying to convince the lady to go. How can one resist? Big screen. Just tell her, like, hey, no matter what, like, the music in it is incredible, and there's, I don't think, ever been a feature-length animation that has as many frames per second for animation as Akira. It is one of the smoothest looking animations ever. Like it looks better than like any other anime. It looks better than any Disney movie. I think Akira is amazing. Amazing. I would love to see that on the big screen. Thank you, Adam. That's nice. Let's see. Murata, the artist for One Punch Man, is a madman when it comes to rewrites of issues. There you go. Tell her to... No, that's not nice. How many frames per second is it? Let me look it up. I forget off the top of my head. I just remember that bit of trivia, but that's a good one. Okay, let's see. And oh. Bear with me, just looking that trivia up about Akira. "24 frames per second. 24 frames per second. And let me see how many most animation is. Because film uses 24, and like they're doing the same thing with animation, but I think most animation does something like half of that. I can't find it right now what most does. And fair enough, yes. I mean, Akira varies frames per second depending on the scene, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's on 2s versus 1s. Okay. We're getting deep into anime. Like, yeah, film is 24 frames per second. If it's animated on 1s, every frame drawn, then that would be it. Okay, so yeah, right. So, okay, most animation is at least on the 2s, which means 12 frames per second. That would be like fairly standard for a lot of animation. 12 frames per second. Most of Akira is 24. Yep. Thank you. Andy is backing me up on that one. Thank you, sir. Most animation is shot on 2s, 12 drawings per second, which is plenty. It looks good. Yeah, a lot of people pointing that out. I just had to do the math in my head. And I'm sure that there are parts, like you said, of Akira that are 12, but most of it's just such a smooth thing. Like some of the action in that is just so gorgeous, and the light effects. But those drums, oh, I love the drums in Akira. Just an incredible. I love that movie. Look, the manga is better, I will say, because it has a much bigger story, and it makes more sense because there's so much more space to tell that story. But I do love that movie because of just how good it looks. I just find it an impressive achievement. Last time I was in Japan, I got to go to a what would I call it? Like an art exhibition based on the movie. It was incredible. It was incredible. Great visit. Okay, so it's time to talk about The Rock. Sort of. He's got his comic book movie coming out soon. Black Adam. It's going to change the power structure of the DC universe. If you smell what The Rock is cooking. So, let me get my notes here. Right. So, online, The Rock posted a new trailer for Black Adam this past week. It was very quickly pulled. The trailer starts by showing little like sort of clips of the other movies that are in that sort of DC shared cinematic universe. What do they call it? The DCEU, I think they call it, if I'm remembering right. It was pulled because it had footage from the Justice League movie. It was a shot from the version that Joss Whedon shot, the theatrically released one that had that version of Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf will look very different visually in the Zack Snyder recut. So what does this mean? They pulled it because it referred to that movie so directly, and The Rock released a new one that he called Corrected that removed the Justice League shot from the trailer. So, all it means is that they've got this shared universe, and they're still not being totally clear as to which version of Justice League is canon to it right now. Like, it just seems so messy to me. Just seems so messy. But yeah, I got a kick out of that. So that was part of it. And then The Rock said that what he wants to do is, like, for another Black Adam movie, have him cross over and go up against the Justice League and Suicide Squad. And that felt like a very wrestler thing to do, saying like, oh, my character should have to go up against all the toughest superheroes. Whereas, like, maybe a fan of the comics would be like, oh, maybe a sequel should have me go up against Shazam, Captain Marvel, right? Like, that would make sense. That's what he was created to be, was the nemesis for Captain Marvel. But, like, The Rock is saying what he wants to do is be in a movie going up against the Justice League and the Suicide Squad. Okay, Rock. I like The Rock, I do, but you seemingly can't take the wrestler out of him. Like, oh, I could take on all of them. It's like, well, that this is a character, right? This isn't like you have to pin them in a match. I could pin Superman. We'll see what they do there. And I get it. Like, would it be more prestigious for Black Adam to go up against Superman or Shazam? Well, it would be more prestigious to go up against Superman. I mean, Superman's the biggest. Like, that would make you the next biggest dog, right? But technically, like, Captain Marvel is supposed to be basically as powerful as Superman. You can even argue maybe even a little bit more, because he doesn't have quite the same weakness to magic. Doesn't have kryptonite. Yeah, and Andrew Jefferson points out that it is in that universe, because we've seen that Amanda Waller is in it. That ties it to the DC universe. So, yeah. It doesn't matter what The Rock says. You know what Rock doesn't do? Lose money at the box office. Yes and no. He's made a couple that weren't like, was that movie where he was like, he had a prosthetic leg and he had to jump between two high-rise towers. Did that one do well? I felt like, did Rampage do well, where he, like, fought the big crocodile and gorilla? I feel like that one didn't do so great. But I like The Rock. I do. I've heard that he doesn't like to lose on camera, and that, like, that became a big part of why he didn't want to be in the Fast and Furious movies, because, like, both he and Vin Diesel were like, no, like, I can't, like, I can't lose in a fight with this guy. Oh yeah, Southland Tales, that was a big flop that starred The Rock. That's true. Baywatch the movie, I don't think that one did well. So, The Rock doesn't always. I think he's entertaining in all of those, but he's done some that are not great, if we're being honest. Rampage did pretty good. I think the Skyscraper one did well in China. Yeah, probably. What's this? Jerry Seinfeld wanted to do a comedy movie with him and Superman chilling in New York City, and DC wouldn't approve it. That's okay, I think. That's okay. Yeah, did the Tooth Fairy make money? Tooth Fairy was a license to print money. Yeah. I still love The Rock. I do too. He's very entertaining. He is. He makes those movies more entertaining than if it didn't have him. I'm not saying that. Trust me, he does make things better. The second G.I. Joe movie, Retaliation, that was a lot better because The Rock was in it. Even if that didn't, I don't think that one made much money, by the way. It might have made a small profit, but it didn't make a big profit, if we're being honest. So I'm just saying, like, he's Doom. I don't think Doom did very well. That one starred him and Carl Urban. One of those rare cases where he wanted to play the bad guy, and I'm like, Rock, don't bother playing the bad guy. Unless you want to do some sort of a prestige drama or something, and I get that, like flex your muscles, but in a big budget action movie, people don't want to see you as a bad guy. I'm very excited to see Piers as Dr. Fate too. You're excited to see me as Dr. Fate? I think you mean Pierce Brosnan, but you said Piers, and that's my last name. So I think that, like, you're not going to see me up against The Rock anytime soon. Yeah, I better watch what I say. He's probably watching my show. Like, I'm trying to keep up to date on all the comic book news and reviews. Who's this little candy ass talking trash about The Rock? My sister and I would go see WWE, sometimes ringside, back in like the late 90s into the early 2000s, and The Rock was great in that era. Yep. Remember that, Gene? Getting to see guys like Mankind and The Rock and Jericho. That was great. Piers Morgan versus The Rock. Yeah. No Pace Pop Pete versus Black Adam? Who knows? Maybe that's where the Marvel DC crossover starts, is me as Pace Pop Pete and The Rock as Black Adam. And we'll see what kind of new power structure there is for this world. Give me a moment to finish this. Anyway, cool. We talked about The Rock. Let's move on. Let's move on to something serious, okay? How do I even start this serious topic? It's not necessary. It's a tough one. I'm talking about some tough news this week. This is testing my host skills. Well, I'll just come out and say it. Carlos Pacheco. A lot of us know him. He's been a superstar artist for a long time now. Claimed runs on Fantastic Four, X-Men. He did a comic that I loved with Kurt Busiek called Avengers Forever, like a 12-issue maxi series. Carlos Pacheco, a great artist from Spain. A lot of us love him. Well, he just this past April, to set the stage, Carlos Pacheco had announced that he was taking a hiatus from working on comics. He was going to be doing some sort of exploratory surgery because he had paralysis in his right leg, and they were going to do some spinal surgery. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. And anyway, it wasn't a spinal issue. This past week, he posted on Facebook that he actually has a diagnosis of ALS. That's a progressive neurological disease where you slowly lose voluntary control of your muscles. Your brain is still working. You can think and comprehend, but your body, you slowly can't do things anymore. It goes at different rates and different parts of the body for every person. Also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Super chat here. Chris will fight The Rock and will unleash the raw destructive power that destroyed that child in the flooding bathroom. Oh boy. If you know, you know. Yeah, that was... Yeah, I had to acknowledge it, but it's okay, Jared. I know you weren't trying to put it during such a serious thing. Anyway, yeah, so he has ALS. Just to be clear, there's no cure for that, folks. It's just something that will happen. Your body just slowly loses control of various functions until you can't move anything anymore. Until potentially you just can't breathe anymore. It's sad. It's a terrible disease. And you may remember from several years back, we had the Ice Bucket Challenge. That was a really popular thing that got a lot of people to donate money to ALS research. That was a super great campaign. And who knows, maybe we in the comic community should sort of bring that back to bring awareness. I'll tell you what I did. And Carlos Pacheco's great. I would never have put him like as my personal favorite artist, but he's a great artist, and I feel bad. I donated to ALS today. There's my donation. That's not to like white knight or anything. It's to spread awareness. I donated $100 to ALS research today. I'm saying that because you can do that very easily if you wanted to. So you can go to the ALS Association website. Make sure you're going to the right site. It's an association. They have a way that you can donate. You can put it in someone's name if you want to, but you don't have to. I didn't. You could do it anonymously. Yeah. Carlos Pacheco. No, I love his art. Yeah. I know someone who passed of it, I think. I wouldn't wish ALS on my worst enemy. It's a terrible disease. It's terrible. That's terrible. My high school teacher passed of ALS. Mm-hmm. Does he have a GoFundMe? Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. That's why I just donated to ALS research in general. Sorry, when I talk about serious things, I just very self-conscious about myself and stuff like that. Okay, don't super chat while high AF. Oh, your previous super chat that said 20? Thank you, Tom. Thank you. That's really nice. Oh, no, don't cry. This is the first stream of yours that's going to make me cry? I'm not trying to make anybody cry. I'm trying to raise awareness for ALS. And so that you can understand if you're like, hey, why am I not seeing new comics by Carlos Pacheco? Man has a disease. He can probably still draw for now. So far, I think it's only his leg that's paralyzed. So I think his arms and hands are working. Hopefully he can do a few more things to sort of help secure his legacy, get some attention on this terrible disease. But yeah, it's the kind of thing we wouldn't wish on anyone. And, the comics community, I think that it's a smaller community. So I think that there's a lot of care and attention for each other that goes into it. Even if we don't necessarily know people, we sort of care about them because we know their work or we've heard good things about certain people. And so anyway, that's what I did. I'm not trying to guilt anybody into doing the same thing, but you might want to consider it just because it's obviously something that could affect anybody. You never know. And it's something that we should probably be more aware of. Yeah. I remember all Carlos's stuff in Extreme X-Men. Yeah. Horrible. It is. Crying isn't a bad thing. I'm not trying to say it is. I'm just not trying to make you cry. I'm not trying to get that serious because I'm probably going to go back to something goofy after this. But anyway, I thought it was worth mentioning. I don't think that Carlos is doing a whole lot to talk about it yet because he did. There's basically an image of Carlos, fairly recent. There's a few articles on the various main comic book news sites these days that talk about it. He did delete his original post where he talked about having ALS, but he has since responded to various tweets. So he's not hiding it, but it is what it is. He's also not making a big deal of it yet. Yeah, I agree, Black Phoenix. The Avengers Forever, that series is great. Really cool. Wasn't Extreme X-Men La Roca? I don't know. I didn't read it, so I don't know. What are you talking about? Just joined. Just recapping Carlos Pacheco being diagnosed with ALS. So anyway, I think it's just worth considering. I'm not telling you guys you have to donate $100 or anything, but if you felt like giving a super chat here, maybe instead you wanted to do $5 to ALS research, that would be a nice thing to do. Here's a nice thought too. Adam saying purchasing Aerosmith would be a big help for Carlos. That's his creator-owned series with Kurt Busiek. Yeah, they've had a good partnership together. Okay, and Daniel Carhoonan backs that up. Yes, that it was Salvador LaRocca that did Extreme X-Men, apparently. Didn't read that one, so I didn't know that. Thanks. Do the one-chip challenge for ALS? I don't think that would be as popular. Pacheco did X-Men a few years early. Yeah, he did do an X-Men run. It was good. He's really good. He's a unique artist. Yep, he did work on The Flash, and I think he also did Green Lantern. Pacheco did beautiful X-Men work in either Uncanny or the regular X-Men title. Did he do Gen X? I don't know if he did Gen X or not. It's hard to remember without like that info in front of me. Anyway, we've mentioned it. Sad. Consider at least looking into ALS. I did like that idea that Adam Messenger had of potentially picking up Aerosmith because creator-owned book by him, so that benefits him. Super sticker. There we go. Thank you for the super chat, though. Anyway, let me move on to a different piece of news. Okay, I think it's time to move on. I think it's time to get some different news up in here. And so this one's goofy. All right, I want you guys to take more than a grain of salt with this. I don't know how reliable this is. I don't know the source, but you never know. Sometimes people find things out. The Blade movie with Mahershala Ali. I'm looking forward to that. Mahershala Ali is an incredible actor. Could be really cool. Supposedly going to start filming, I believe, this when? It's soon. I don't know. It's soon, and I think it gets released next November. I'm pretty sure that's when it's. Is Duke wearing a Speedo? No, these are just sort of like it's in shadow because he's like leaning over. Here, I'll add some more texture to his pants and some wrinkles, and hopefully that makes sense. Thanks, Chrissy. So anyway, the Blade movie. There's a rumor, by the way, that it will be called The Blade. Okay. Is Blade going to appear in Werewolf by Night next week? So I haven't heard any rumor like that. While it would be appropriate to a degree, I tend to doubt it. I think that that would pull some of the focus away from the Werewolf by Night. You know, you can put in the Bloodstones and Man-Thing, and the focus is still more on Werewolf by Night. Maybe an after credits cameo by Moon Knight would be appropriate, but that's the most I'd expect out of that. But so Blade is coming, right? Here's the rumor. You can attribute this to Geek Vibes Nation. It's making the rounds, but it came from Geek Vibes Nation. They've got like a Twitter and a website. They said that this will actually be a period piece, the first Blade movie. It would be set between the years of 1900 to 1980. An 80-year period. So, yeah, maybe it's maybe it implies, I guess I'm trying to say that like Blade is semi-immortal. I mean, he does have like, vampire powers because he's half vampire. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. But maybe. Do you believe that? Or do you think that that's just a website making up a rumor to try to get clicks? It's just not something I would have guessed at, so I feel like I sort of believe it. Well, glad that you're here, Ricky Prickles. That's nice. Blade in the comics, people forget this because we think of Wesley Snipes so much, because that was a fun interpretation of the character. But Blade is British. Blade is from London. So I'll be curious to see if, the Mahershala Ali version is also from England. We'll see. Yeah. Let's see. What's this? If that's true, I would like if they made it connect to Blade 1999 to 2004. I don't think they're going to do that. I think that version is in the past and they're going to come up with a new version. Yeah, Blade's original costume is basically just sort of like a brown leather jacket, decent sized afro, and like green visor sunglasses. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Blade is British. Your video about your pitch to Image reminded me of when I tried pitching my comic Mythos to them and they never responded. Well, I guess, use that as fuel. Try it. I don't think Mahershala Ali is British. What was that? Where's that question? There it is. I don't think he's British, but he might play British. Hey, we've got enough British people playing American superheroes, right? I mean, Henry Cavill and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland and I don't even know how many others, like all play, American superheroes. We've got a lot of British and Welsh actors and stuff playing Americans, but yeah. Yes. Oh my God. This is a great thing to bring up. Paul Davis. Have you heard the story Patton Oswalt tells of his Blade set experience? Patton Oswalt tells the best behind the scenes stories about Blade. Look them up. He's told them not in stand-up, I don't think. I think he's told them as like interview pieces when he's on late night talk shows. He talks about how, Wesley Snipes was stoned the entire time. He did not want to do Blade Trinity. He did not want to do it. And he was very... If you don't see Wesley Snipes' face, it's pretty much always a stand-in for Blade. They used a lot of stand-ins for like just even talking scenes, fight scenes, anything where it didn't have to be Wesley Snipes specifically, his face, he would not do it for Blade Trinity. Used a lot of devils to play Blade in that movie. He hated the director and he threatened him so much that the director hired a personal bodyguard to watch him on set during the filming of the whole movie. There's a scene at the end of the movie where Blade seems to be dead and then he wakes up. Oh, the hero isn't dead. Wesley Snipes refused to open his eyes for the scene, so they used digital eyes, like his eyes digitally open, if you watch that. Steve Sorensen, thank you for the super chat. I'm Johnny Alpha Yanks as British heroes. Yeah, Johnny Alpha Yanks. I don't know who Johnny Alpha Yanks is, but thank you. Image Comics always responded to my graphic novel submissions. I think they're usually pretty good, so it really depends on the era that you maybe sent something in. Maybe. Blade fighting vampires through different time periods would be fun. It would be cool to see him interact with Golden Age characters or even some early Marvel monsters. Yeah, like, adding monsters to Marvel is kind of new, but that would be cool, like to see that maybe vampires are a piece of Marvel's history. All right, here's a super deep cut that may imply that the MCU has already hinted at vampires existing, and it was in the latest She-Hulk episode. I'm probably full of crap on this one, folks. Let me just mention this. EJ Sue, always love to see you, buddy. I was driving earlier, couldn't text, but I wanted to say number one in Japanese is Ichiban. Yes, I think that's what you were thinking. It was. I don't know how I confused. I knew that Ichiban was number one. I don't know why I thought Asahi was that. It's more like Rising Sun. Marry me. No. Already married. Sorry. Pretty happy with it. Johnny Alpha is a 2000 AD mutant bounty hunter. Oh, man, I got to read that one. That sounds awesome. All right. So, could Marvel have already hinted at a vampire? Maybe. It might be a coincidence with this name. The last episode of She-Hulk had Mr. Immortal. And this version said that his first wife was Lady Cromwell. Well, in the comics, I'm trying to remember, there were two vampires that were like real early vampires, not Dracula. It was like after Dracula. Dracula had like a son and a daughter, and I think one of them created these, but there was Baron Blood and Lady Cromwell. Technically that, like, I don't know, but could Mr. Immortal have been married to the Cromwell that became a vampire? Theoretically possible. It could also be a coincidence that they grabbed that name. But there is a Cromwell that's a vampire in the Marvel comics. I don't know. it could be a stretch. Yep, good point. Hamza knows a little bit about Blade history. Blade initially did not have vampire powers. It's true. He was just immune to being turned into one because his mother had been bitten. Yes, and then Morbius bit him, which gave him the Daywalker powers. That's exactly how they did it in the comics to match what the movies had done in 98. The movies in 98 made him basically half a vampire. He should be half vampire. I mean, that's the simplest thing. We've had the idea of Dhampir in literature before. Half vampires. That's what he should be. Of all the names, why pick Cromwell if it isn't a reference? That's the only thing I'm thinking. The only thing I'm also thinking is, how many people out there know that there is a female vampire named Cromwell? Probably not many. I might be going too nerdy. Yeah, love Baron Blood in the Invaders comics, an absolutely insufferable British vampire. 10 out of 10. Exactly. So I'm just saying that is in the time frame between 1900 and 1980. You could do that. And maybe like, the first Blade movie, you have him going up against some pretty tough vampires, but then you sort of reveal that, hey, as tough as these guys were, Dracula is out there and he's sort of like the father of these vampires. Could be cool. It definitely went over my head. I think it went over everybody's head. I could be crazy. Folks, we're basically time to like wrap this up, but I want to release it. I want to go over one more piece of news that's, I think, fun, because I want to end this on a happy note, because I know I had some serious stuff that I was talking about today. So, all right. Who here read comics in the 90s? Show of hands. Who read comics in the 90s? I did. And if you've watched my episodes about the 90s, you know that one popular thing about 90s comics was gimmick covers, which we don't get as many of now. We get like variant artist covers. We don't get as many gimmick covers. But let's see. I'm going to, who here read 90s comics? All right. We've got Mr. Sam Hawkins says, yo, totally. Hand. I was born in the 90s, so no. I was born until 99. Fair. Hand. I've read comics from the 90s. That's fair. I think Marvel will introduce Varney. Probably. Thank you for the stream. Yep. Born in 95. Okay. But yep. It's a half and half, it seems. That's fair. I was a kid in the 90s, so I did. Good. Yep. Okay. Yep. Raising my hand. Started reading in 92. This is going so fast. I can't get you all. I'm sorry, because the screen is going so fast. I did, but those didn't exist in my country. Me, born in the 2000s. No worries. Didn't learn to read until the end of the 90s. Yeah. Okay. Here's why I bring it up. DC has announced that this November, they're going to release embossed foil cover comics. We're going back to celebrate the 90s specifically. They are going back. There we go. Of course you did, Andy. You were making comics then, basically. To me, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but I love that some of you are younger and are still interested in comics and are here. I love that. Tari, yep. I still read comics. I still read comics in the 90s. There you go. I'm going to read comics into my 90s. I hope. Let me show you some of this stuff, though, folks. All right. So what do we have here? We have, let me get this out of the way. I think they said that they're going to release something like 15 of them. Final order cutoff is October 9th, on sale November 1st. Oh boy, there's like some sort of an ad. There we go. Foil embossed covers. So we've got a silver Batman looking like he's fighting Bane. That looks like fun. Here we've got a Joker all in green. That's a foil embossed cover. Wildcats in red. Yes, please. I don't know, folks. I think it's been long enough since I've seen these that I would like a foil embossed cover again. I am going to fall for this gimmick. Absolutely. Batman Incorporated with the sort of gold, I guess you'd call it. How long until we get chromium covers again, right? Okay. Some of the other images didn't pull up on this, but there's at least some of what that looks like if you didn't grow up reading this stuff, I think that this red one looks cool. I'm like, all right, maybe I want to read Wildcats again if this is like, if they're going to have a cover like this. The 1990s are back. Bronze. Okay, that's bronze. Thank you, Gene. You're right. I want an embossed Batman Beyond. Maybe that will be one of them. I don't know. I only read Batman right now, but I'll definitely pick it up. Okay. Does anyone remember the holographic Joker comics from like 2012? Yeah. Those are cool. I feel like I'm back in my local shop in 96, right? Absolutely. Wildcats. Gave up on Marvel, discovered Sandman and Frank Miller in the 90s. Very cool. Need to wear sunglasses. Awesome. Can we get some trading cards too? Well, Paul, there is a book out now that collects all of the Jim Lee X-Men trading cards into a book. You can find that on Amazon. So in a way, if the comics don't come with a little Death of Superman armbands, I'm not buying them. I don't blame you. I have a test print embossed foil wraparound Exo Manowar #0 signed by Quesada and Palmiotti. It's honestly pretty rad. Sounds pretty rad. Are they going to cost more? Doesn't say, but I think that is a safe bet. I mean, a normal comic these days is about $5. You add this cover, I'd say like $7 or $8 at least. At least. I don't know what to expect. So I think that they will also, just to be clear, have regular non-special versions if you just want to get the regular comic. If I cared, who are the artists? I don't. The regular artists. I don't know. Was DC big into these gimmicks back then? Not as big as Marvel. They did plenty of gimmicks. Not as many as Marvel, but they had some glow in the dark Spectre covers. They did they do as much hollow foil or chromium? I'm having trouble like thinking of those. I can think of a foil Batman one with the Azrael Batman on it. I can think of some of those. Yeah. Sorry to say, I don't miss this gimmick. I don't miss it being a regular thing because it used to be the only option to buy, and that was expensive. But I think these will be like you could either get the regular or the variant if the nostalgia hits you. Did you do an episode on gimmicks back in the day? I did do an episode on comic tropes about gimmick covers. How many free pogs will I get per issue? Depends on how much paper cutting you're willing to do. If you're good at cutting up the comic, you can make your own pogs. I worked in a shop from 94 to 96. Then you know this stuff as well as anyone, Jose. Whoops, I got that. Let's see. Liefeld and embossed covers on the same stream. I know. We're back to the 90s, folks. The dream of the 90s is alive in Washington. Are those NFTs? Not that I know of. My LCS had some of those covers that come with stickers you could make your own scene with. Jim is still here. Pogs are also coming back. Does that mean we can expect some of your comics in Pog form next, Jim? Are we going to see the girls as Pogs? Oh, wow. Okay, so some people like this. Smart. Something you can't get digital nor in collections. Sell more individual books. I think that's the idea. Is like, hey, a lot of people do like digital. Digital is great. I like digital too because less to hold, but that is so niche. But come on, there's a bit of fun here because I don't feel like it's being forced on us. You know, I feel like this is like they're going to have this as an option. Yeah, it even says right there, variant cover. So they'll have the regular version and they'll have this. Pretty sure I have those trading cards. That's awesome. I wish I still had my Marvel trading cards. Did you cover Liefeld yet? That's what I started with. This is the last piece of news, Tari. They printed zillions of them. Let's say I do not like gimmick covers variants. You don't have to get it. It's all good. I totally get it. Will you be able to rub the blood? Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. You're right, Jose. That was a DC gimmick cover. They put the Eclipso diamond on the cover, and that was tricky because you stack any comics on top of it, it's going to poke into the back. It literally poked into the back. 3D breasts are totally 90s. 3D muscles are totally 90s. I remember buying a trade paperback of Fatal Attractions in Spanish that had like a hologram, but they didn't seem to be able to print holograms, so it was like a fake one. Oh, yeah. They did have holograms on all of those Fatal Attractions books. Yep. There were a bunch of gimmick Robin covers. That's right. They did lenticular so that like he moved, and they also did holograms. Yep. Yep. I want them to bring back those comics with the little holographic Wolverine in the corner that you showed us. Hey, let's see how. DC is obviously testing the waters here, folks. Let's see how well this does. There was a Sandman issue with glow-in-the-dark eyes on the cover. I liked some of the subtle glow-in-the-dark stuff. I did. Detective 600 came in like a manila envelope. Yep. Mahfood in the chat. He usually is. Nice guy. Please, I don't want any more foil embossed. Don't buy it. The market will dictate what's successful. I just hope they bring back ads for X-ray specs and sea monkeys. In a way, Archmage, they have, because they do reprints of vintage books these days, both Marvel and DC, that keep all the same ads. They keep they print it the exact same way that, like, so in a way they have. I was being a little facetious with the question. Go check out that episode on comic tropes. Oh yeah. I did do an episode about gimmick covers. Oh, it was Detective 700? Okay. Remember Jim Mahfood? He's back in Pog form. I'd buy Jim Mahfood in Pog form. Just trying to get through the last of these chats because this is the end of it, folks. This is the end. Batman Digital Justice was probably the furthest they went, to my knowledge. Well, that wasn't really a gimmick cover. That was more of a gimmick idea. It was a totally digital art created book back when you had to create it with the mouse. There was no like tablets or anything. Literally, what's the artist's name? Something like Sanchez or something. Oh man, I can't remember. I remember Robin 2, the Joker's Wild hologram covers. Absolutely. Those covers used to make the books late all the time. Yet another thing that started to kill the industry in the 90s. The 90s was very gimmicky. Too gimmicky. That is true. But honestly, the Jinko's made it come back too. The biggest thing that hurt, I think, comics was making too many of them, flooding the market. Not so much the gimmicks as when Marvel decided to go with an exclusive distributor, and it just sort of broke the whole system because their distributor was not capable of keeping up with demand, and it just killed things. The Joker is fire, though. Yeah, here, I'll scroll back to that Joker then. Let's say that. The Joker, The Man Who Stopped Laughing, issue 2. Looks like there's the creative team, but that looks interesting to me. I think that's cool. The colors do a great job of matching the characters. Yeah, they did do a good job there. Look at this. Andy Kuhn, not going to lie, that looks kind of cool. That's, I think, why they sold. I don't think any of us want to regularly spend even more on comics. They're pricey enough. None of us are going to say, like, they're priced just fine. Nobody's going to say that. But it looks kind of cool. I think that I might be willing to buy one of these. Probably not all of them. I definitely not all of them. I feel like the New 52 started this nostalgic gimmick comeback. It's never quite gone away. It's been a while since I've seen one of these, so I thought it would be fun. I found a hologram Spider-Man book at a retro games and comic book store. Yeah, those were all 90s. There were a bunch of them. Let's see. Chris' stream is still growing strong. I usually miss it. Well, I'm glad you were able to catch the end. I'm glad to have you here. Let's see. Kelly Jones Batman Glow in the Dark featuring Deadman. Good one. Yep. Let's see. What was the best time you noticed a signature disguised in a comic? The best time you noticed a signature disguised in a comic? I don't know. I can't think of one. But as far as good signatures go, I don't think anyone can beat Walt Simonson's. Simonson looks like a dinosaur. That's awesome. Anyway, I got... Gene says, is he picking his nose? Pepe Morano did Digital Justice. Thank you. It's been so long, I couldn't remember. I remembered, obviously, that it was Spanish, but yeah. Thanks, Gene. Tell you what, we're probably not going to top that one. So I think that's a good place for me to wrap up the live stream for the week. Hopefully you guys had a good time. There was some cool news to talk about. I enjoyed doing that. And again, like some of the things that I would strongly recommend that came out this week, Spy Family, if you've never read this before. Thank you to my wife, Chrissy, for getting me hooked on that one. And then what else that came out this week that I would recommend? I think that Vanish was really interesting. I think that that's a cool one to check out. I think that Radiant Black has innovative storytelling in issue 18 that's worth reading. And Creepshow, if you're into horror, Creepshow was pretty good. So those are some of the ones that I got this week. No horrible food this week. The closest thing I can think is like, potentially like doing the ice bucket challenge just to like continue to spread awareness for ALS in light of Carlos Pacheco being diagnosed with it. But maybe you guys could consider mentioning ALS stuff in your social media streams. If we can, as a comics community, raise a little awareness for a while on ALS, could lead to some more donations. I donated. If you're in a place to do so, might be worth considering doing. But I had a great time talking with all of you. Thank you for the jokes. Thank you for the super chats. Just thank you for being here. This one was a blast. I had a great time. I'll see you all in a week. And you'll see me even sooner because I'm working on the next Comic Tropes episode. So that'll be out next Sunday. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, the latest Comic Tropes I did came out yesterday, and that's about Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo. Because that's more of an indie book, those don't always get as much traction. So would love it if you took a moment to take a look, maybe hit like, comment, or share it with a friend. Appreciate that stuff. That's more than enough from me. I'm going to give you the old devil salute. Boom, boom. That was the weekly spinner rack. I'm out of here. Thank you so much. Keep reading comics.